you've moved way more. And that didn't get you the result you want, correct? Correct. Well, if you want a different outcome, you're going to need to do something different, right? And so what's different from eating less and moving more? Eating a little bit more and moving a little bit less. If they're under eating and not losing weight, then we need to explain to them, look, on paper, scientifically, you're doing everything right to lose weight, but your body is stressed to the max. Hormones are probably far out of whack, and I can tell you this without doing blood work. And you've probably lost a lot of muscle, which means you've lost a lot of metabolism, right? A lot of the ability to eat a normal amount of food and not gain weight. And so before anything, before we get to the weight loss that you're here for, we need to fix that issue, right? We need to remove the stress from your body, show your body it's okay to eat more food and burn those calories rather than hang on to them. And in the process, get you in the gym, get you lifting some weights, and get that muscle back on your body so that you can eat normal amounts of food and not gain weight and hopefully even lose it while eating 17, 18, 1900 calories a day.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree, man. I feel like the concept of reverse dieting is applicable whether you step on stage and compete or not. You mentioned getting like baselines established first. I feel like that's key. A lot of people will look at somebody's stats, their age, their sex, and okay, you should be consuming X amount of calories and, set it and forget it and you'll see the results you want. But that's just so far from the truth. Like I always figure out what they've been eating, what their last 6 months of dieting history look like, because all of that's going to shift the direction you take going forward. When they are eating a healthy amount of food, like when they're going through this initial consult with you, tracking their initial intake and you're kind of analyzing what their true consumption is, what stands out to you as like a healthy amount of food? Everyone's obviously going to be a little bit different based off of their stats and their age, but generally speaking, for women specifically, what is a generally healthy amount of caloric intake on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, I love it. You nailed it. Everyone's going to be different, but to give a range, I would say for somebody that's not super tiny, right? So like 5'3" or less and not completely sedentary, I would say like 18 to 2,400 calories a day. For someone that lives a semi-active to active lifestyle is normal. And I'm willing to guess that the person that I work with on a regular basis just about fell out of their chair when I said that.
Yeah. No, I totally agree, man. I've got a few females right now that are consuming like 3,300 calories and maintaining a healthy weight. Yes. Generally speaking, I always tell my females, it's like, look, I want you to be able to maintain a healthy weight north of 2,000 calories. I've got a few that are like tiny, 5'2", 110 pounds. Maybe they can justify less than 2,000. But at a maintenance, generally speaking, north of 2,000 is where I like to see them. And so many of them are consuming far, far, far less than that. And a lot of them just don't realize how much they are consuming. So like when you're tracking this and you're having them track it for the first week or two, by a percentage, how many of them are truly consuming what they think they're consuming, or are they just totally off the deep end?
Yeah, so it's actually rare that they're off the deep end, right? Because we've been doing what we do for so long, we attract that type of person where it's like, look, they've dieted a lot and they do know how to track and they do have a good feel for how much they're eating. And they're pretty accurate. Maybe they're 200, 300 calories off, but generally they're at 1,500 or less. And it's not uncommon for us to see somebody eating 800 to 1,200 calories a day. But man, I love what you just said about you have a couple ladies that you're working with. They're at like 3,300 calories. That's the game to play. Like, yes, we can input body metrics into a TDEE calculator all day long. But at the end of the day, that's just a rough guess from an algorithm, from an equation that somebody made years ago. Our name of the game, and it sounds like you too, is find out how much we can push the limits, right? Can you eat 2,500 calories a day and not gain weight or lose it? Perfect. Can you have 26, 27, 28? Like, what's the tipping point to where you can max out your food consumption and not gain weight?
Yeah, I think that's the goal, because the more calories you have to work with, the more levers you can pull, the more runway you have to manipulate when you do transition into a fat loss phase. And I feel like very few people bring that to the forefront of knowledge of these people that are not competing. Like when you're competing, it's kind of commonly understood, but when you're not, the same principles apply whether you step on stage or not, because we're all the same species. So all of that applies. When it comes to mindset, let's talk about that, because I feel like you and I both have an interest in mindset specifically, because that shapes so much of how we interact with our clients. But when you're talking with someone that's been, 50, 60 years old, they've been chronically under eating for the last 20, 30, 40 years. How does that shift in mindset compare with someone that's 20 or 30 and they're just now getting into this and they're just coming out of they're just now starting to take interest in their health because they probably got away with a lot more than they should when they're, adolescent age and they're eating everything in, college and whatnot. So how does the conversation differ between those that have been chronically doing this for the last 30 years versus those that are just trying to get set up on the right foot going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. And you nailed it. So number one, for the ladies that are 50, 60, 70, around that, and they've been dieting for, like you said, 3 decades, whatever it may be, like they're experienced. They know what they've done for a long time, but it's almost easier at that point because they also know what they've done hasn't worked. Like they're still here looking for a result. And so it's a really easy conversation or perspective shift when you say, look, you're here for help, right? Answer is always yes. It's like, okay, awesome. And so you've done all these things for the past X amount of years and you're still here, right? Yes. Okay. And so what are the similarities across what you've done in the past? Well, you've ate less, way less, and you've moved way more. And that didn't get you the result you want, correct? Correct. Well, if you want a different outcome, you're going to need to do something different, right? And so what's different from eating less and moving more? Eating a little bit more and moving a little bit less. And so sometimes that's the click. And if not, all we do is hold up a few transformation pictures that brought them in. It's like, all right, well, you want to have this body, right? Yes. Great. What this person did is exactly what we're going to do for you. So you've just got to trust the process a little bit.
How do you navigate the waters of like menopause and hormonal shifts with that demographic? Because they've got that variable thrown into the equation as well.
Yeah, so that's not really my jam. We don't talk too much about hormones. We don't talk too much about menopause in depth. But what I can say is that a lot of women will come to me and say, hey, I am perimenopausal, postmenopausal, whatever it may be, and my hormones are to blame for my lack of weight loss. And I always level with them. I say, okay, you know what? You might be right. But before we get into these advanced things, why don't we look at the foundational things that we know produce results? Let me see your food logs for the past 30 days. Let me see your exercise, how you tracked it, your progressive overload for the past 30 days. Let me see your sleep. Let me see your steps. And if they can't produce that for the last 30 days, if they're not doing the fundamental things that you and I both know create results, then they don't have the right to point the finger at hormones yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I think that's fair analysis, man. Like hormones are like the where people immediately go because they can, especially with all the technologies nowadays, they can immediately shift those numbers. But if the underlying foundational habits and routines aren't in place, then it's all for naught to begin with. So, and you look at, a menopausal woman, they're worried about, testosterone taking is going to have a negative effect on bone mineral density, loss of lean tissue, downregulated metabolic rate as a result of that. It's like all of that for sure can be impacted by hormonal manipulation, but all of that can equally be impacted by eating more food and training with intensity in a strategic manner that's allowing yourself to recover and, build more muscles. So like looking at one without the other, I feel like is just a non-worthwhile use of one's efforts and resources.
I mean, what happens when you no longer have the means to get those hormones or to use those hormones? Or even this, like I've had so many people on my show, right? Because I just admittedly said I'm not the hormone guy, so I try to learn from other people. I've had so many people say, yes, hormones can help you, but so many times you have to have this just right, this perfect balance of your testosterone, your progesterone, your estrogen. If not, look, you're going to feel equally as shitty, just in a different way, right? Yeah. And so again, back to the basics. Why don't we just fall in love with a version of nutrition and exercise that works for you and serves you at the same time?